Okay, hello anybody out there watching us in the world. This is Land Down Under Hangout, and tonight we are discussing season 1 and 2 of The Expanse. So spoilers ahoy, be warned. And that goes for the books just as much as for the show, because we'll probably be discussing some comparison points.
Oh, only book 1 and 2.
Two halfway, really.
I was going to say most. Yeah, I can't really remember where book 2 ended, but
I think the end of season 2 takes you a little bit further than halfway, but let's just say roughly that. Just
yeah. Oh, yeah, because I've just remembered what happens and what hasn't happened yet. No,
there's a whole heap that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Okay, we won't talk about things that have not yet happened in the book, like that have happened in the book but haven't happened yet in the show.
Yeah, so basically we're using the show as our guideline for what we were willing to spoil. And for the books, it will be direct comparisons of what happened in the book, but nothing beyond what's happened in the show itself.
And just an FYI, we didn't finish this season. Sorry.
What?
This will be a little bit in relation to what Matt was talking about just before we went live about what people think of the seasons. Like, they're like, are they binges? Are they, whatnot? Couldn't get into it kind of thing. So we are up to episode 8. So we've done 1 to 7.
Okay.
I thought I was halfway because I told Mel all this before. We thought we were halfway because I thought it was only 10 episodes, and it turns out it's 13.
13.
So so that was like, oh crap! We're going, oh god.
Okay.
And one of the episodes was super long. We were like, was that over an hour? And it was really long.
Yeah, that seems to be a thing now, doesn't it? Like TV shows don't always have
because
the same
it doesn't
length.
have to fit in that block of free-to-air time. They can just make the story fit whatever.
Mindhunter did the same thing. They don't have any set time. They do what they need to for the episode, which I actually think is kind of cool. Anyway, so just as I was saying, the bit that I'm up to, and I'm okay with spoilers, but kind of just let me know.
There's some big spoilers.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to figure out what has happened yet.
Yeah, so she...
Did you say you've seen episode 8?
No, I haven't.
Hi, Jazz, by the way.
Episode 8. I have seen episode... We're up to 8.
Hang on, I need to look up.
Up to 8.
What was
I need to look up.
Okay.
It's before Bobby gets to Earth.
Yeah,
yes.
Before Bobby
right.
Gunny, as we called her, because we didn't know that was we didn't know that was a general nickname. We thought that was her nickname. And I'm just talking to Mel. So, yeah, Gunny hasn't gone to Earth yet. Is she now going to be called Bobby for the rest of the season, just to confuse me? And she's seen her first bipedal, non-human being, not in a vac suit, and the drone. That wasn't anybody.
Yeah, let's just say not in a vac suit.
Oh God! See, the problem is that we're already hitting the stage where there's things that we could be saying that are spoiling things, Sarah.
Yeah. That's okay. Anyway,
episode
8. We'll see what's what. Maybe, we'll see. Okay, so that's where we're up to. Sorry, that's exciting content.
And hi, Jasmine.
Yep.
Oh, okay, so the big thing was episode 5, right?
Which is what happened in episode 5 of season 2.
That's when he lands on
Miller.
Miller goes on Eros,
and Eros dodges the Mormon ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was good.
And then he gets sent to Venus.
Crashes into Venus.
Crashes into Venus. All that. Because that was what I was worried. I was like, holy shit! I hope you've seen that bit.
No, I've seen that, but that bit was awesome. Like, I really enjoyed that. I have issues with the way they portrayed Julie. We'll get into that. I want to know in the books how that was written.
I read book 1 a long time before I read all the other books, and that was all in book 1, and I don't remember it as clearly as I remember the
Okay,
I read that one.
Let's just get started with some general stuff. And I know this is probably going to be mostly Kirsten and I. Jasmine, by the way, can you just check your sound? Because I haven't heard you talk yet.
Say hello.
Hello? No sound.
Hello?
Oh, yes, there we are.
There you are.
Okay, good. So this might be a little bit of Kirsten and I apologise for that, but I think it's a good sort of general spot to get started off with, which is I really like the fact that unlike with Game of Thrones, they're not trying to stick to getting the season per book a book per season done. They're just trying to tell the story and do it appropriately with the number of stories episodes they've got. So
yep, they didn't sort of squish it in and then skip over a bunch of stuff that was important so that they could get it into one season, especially because the first season was shorter than the second one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's 10 and 13.
Yeah. See, this is why I thought it was halfway. Also, just to course correct, yes, Game of Thrones did that to begin with, and then they gave up.
Yeah, they did, and but then it kind of got weird anyway.
Yeah,
because there were two books that went all weird in Game of Thrones, where they went, George started going, I'm only going to write about half the characters in this one, and then I'll skip back. He kind of did sort of what they did in what Lord of the Rings did. Right. If you read the books of Lord of the Rings, where it went, we're going to tell you Sam and Frodo's story, and then we're going to rewind back to the same point in time, and then tell you Aragorn's side of the story,
right?
Rather than what was happening. So you're kind of jumping back in time and then hearing about these characters. They did the exact same thing with the Game of Thrones book, where he wrote about half the characters for one whole book, and then the next book started back at the same point in time again, and then he wrote about all the other characters and what was going on with them at the same time as what was happening. And it's like, I can understand why the TV show was like, yeah, this is too friggin' confusing.
But like in the first couple of seasons, I think even the first maybe three seasons, I'm not completely sure because I haven't read the third book at all of Game of Thrones, they did do a book per season kind of thing. Whereas we're up to season 2 and we're only about halfway through book 2 at this stage.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, only like there's a lot of stuff left in the second book still.
My thing though is that I'm worried because one of the things that they did was they took what happened at the end of book 1 and basically the first 5 episodes is what happened at the end of book 1. And I
was like, God, this is a long time. Like hardly any. I was like the same thing. Hardly anything happened there, and they managed to stretch it out to 5 episodes. Like, what's going on with that? Maybe they wanted the Miller thing to be like not right at the beginning of the season. They wanted it to be a sort of mid-season wow point, and then
maybe
they would stretching out the other stuff.
It dragged.
And I was wondering, if everybody felt like that bit lagged a bit, because for me, I sort of watched it as a big chunk.
Because it didn't get together until episode 4 when they decided to deal with Eros.
Well, see, pretty much everything before episode 4 didn't happen in the books because Miller never went back to the station. He never met Fred Johnson. All of that stuff just didn't happen.
See, I'd forgotten, and I was like, but because it was quite a while ago, I was like, all I remember is they get off Eros. Then pretty much the next thing I remembered after that was the whole thing with Miller and him like basically taking over the thing and steering it away from Earth, and like all that stuff was the next main thing I remembered from the book after they got off the planet.
He barely spent any time with
what is going on with all the, like, why is there so many episodes? I was waiting for that Miller thing to happen in like the first couple of episodes of the second season, and I'm like, what is taking so long for them to get to this? And I just thought, I hadn't remembered the book very well, and I'd forgotten a bunch of stuff.
I was just basically spending all my time going, God, I hate Miller. Will you just kill him, or goddamn sakes?
Oh, I'm not a huge fan of Miller either. I'm not sorry. Well, anyway.
I had 2 ideas about why they might have done that. Mm-hmm. One might have been a contractual thing where they got Thomas Jane for a certain number of episodes.
Is he a known actor then? Because I've never heard of him before.
Oh yeah, he was. He was in a thing called Hung, and he was
popular sort of through the 90s into maybe the early 2000s.
Okay. It's something I've seen. I can't remember what it was now. Hang on, I'll look him up while you guys keep talking.
And the other thing I thought was maybe I haven't read a lot online about the popularity of different characters in the show, but if the Miller character was popular with the audience, maybe they decided to write some additional stuff in or like give his arc a bit more of a like archetypal hero kind of
I thought it might have something to do with what's coming with the books, which I can't say anything without spoiling because I'm in the third book.
I know. I know.
So
I've read all of them. The next one comes out in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because when I downloaded my last audiobook, when my last credit clicked over, I was like, oh, is the next Expanse one out? And I'm like, no, it's like a week and a half away. And I'm like, I'll buy something else and then get that when it comes out.
So I was thinking that perhaps it had something to do with there being something on those lines, and they wanted to make him a bit more ingrained as a character, because from the books, my feeling was that because what happens on Eros, Holden spends a lot of time with Miller and they develop a relationship from that. But he doesn't really develop.
Important.
Sorry?
Is that relationship in the books as well?
Well, that's what I was going to say. There's that relationship there, but I don't remember him having much of a relationship with the rest of the crew.
No, I don't.
All of those scenes with them remembering Miller and this is Miller's chair and all of this sort of stuff on the Rossi.
Yeah. No, they never gave a crap about him. And they were always like, what the fuck is wrong with Holden? Why does he give us crap about Miller? Because Miller's a dick. And the rest of the crew was always like, what is with you, Holden? Why do you even like listen to this guy? Even I remember Naomi was like really sort of like, you're becoming too much like Miller, and why do you want to, what are you doing that for? And,
So, I mean, and I'm okay with them making that change. I'm just sort of like, for me, when I read the first book, one of the things that killed it was the Miller character. I really wasn't into him at all. So,
yeah, when I read it, because the book is one chapter per character. It's a Holden chapter, a Miller chapter, and they alternate. And I was very much like, oh, now I have to read a whole Miller chapter before I can get back to Holden.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I liked the second book so much more than the first book, because it's like
plus the first book didn't have Bobby and Avasaralia. Like, I
forgot that she wasn't in the first book, because she was in the first season of the TV show, and I'd forgotten.
Yeah, is that Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Christian.
Who's like all hail Christian, all hail Avasaralia. May she be forever.
I love her.
Hey guys, I just love the outfits.
Yeah, her outfits are to die for.
Her outfits are amazeballs.
They're pretty well described in the books too.
Yeah. What I love about Avasaralia, though, is that she is a super powerful, super smart female character who's unapologetic for who she is. Yes, go get it, baby.
Cool. So,
yeah.
And she's Indian. Woo!
Absolutely. So here's some of my thoughts around, because I'm going to kind of go this way. Production values. So this is one of my reasonings that I think perhaps it has had a hard time getting people trapped into it. I feel like it's production values, considering the world it's trying to build. And my husband agreed with me. We were talking about this, especially in the first season. It felt a little next gen. Like, I don't quite know how to describe it, but it looks like it's polystyrene.
Yeah.
Walls. It doesn't feel like like they talked about sealing water, and like you look at this, like, the belters, and you imagine, and it just doesn't look. I don't know. I mean, I know it's a TV show as opposed to a movie, but I just,
it doesn't have Game of Thrones budget either.
No, I know, but there was just
they did get a budget increase for season 2.
Yeah, and I think that's shown, like, that is working a little bit more in their favour.
I want to talk about that in a second.
I think the other thing too, Sarah, is that unlike with a lot of shows where, like around that time, that they had a main spot where they were filming in, and so when they have a good budget, they could spend the money on that budget. But especially in the first season, the locations change a lot. Whereas in season 2, we now get the Rossi quite regularly and things on those lines. So putting budget into a location that's not going to stay is tough.
Yeah, but I mean, you can swap. I mean, one station looks like another. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Anyway, it's just a comment on. I felt it hard, like the first season, I felt it was hard to get, like, engrossed in the world. The world, to me, production values are a huge part of the world building to get me ingrained into, thinking and feeling and vibing on a place, right? And when they were describing Belter's lives, and there's lots of links coming up. It's for me, it's kind of, it was just a kind of a juxtaposition of that. It was like, you've got I can hear myself. I don't know why. I can hear somebody.
Wait, let me unplug myself and plug myself back in.
Okay.
I'll do that too. Okay.
Mel, that was me that just messaged on the other one.
No. Sarah was hearing herself talk back, and that's usually I have to unplug myself, and then it's fine.
Okay, let's see if this is any better. Yeah, it's better. Anyway, it's just a comment. Like, yeah, I know there isn't that, but I've seen other shows that have less budget cope a bit better. It felt kind of a bit, I don't know, there were just things I didn't quite vibe with. So that was kind of one of the struggles. No, it's back again. Never mind. And season 2 is improved. I think one of the things I'm struggling with, and I want to know what you guys think, and maybe it was those first few episodes. Like 10 episodes in the first season was okay, and we just kind of dipped in and out of it. It wasn't something we needed to binge. Others may feel differently, and that's been one of the struggles with this. And it was like 13 episodes. Like we stopped watching Jessica Jones because it was just being drawn out. We were just like, oh my god, I'm sort of like, oh, you know, David Tennant, he's no longer scary. I don't give a toss about this anymore. You know, like there's 6 more episodes of this. Fuck that, you know. So I'm kind of a little bit like, why is there 13 episodes? Where is this going? And for contrast, just to let you guys know, we've come from basically binge watching Mindhunter not that long before that, and that for its world building, yes, it's got a much bigger budget because it's David Fincher. You know, it's set in the 70s, and you know, you believe the living rooms of like you believe the living rooms you're in and that kind of thing. So, yeah. As far as this, okay, sorry, go.
No, it's all right.
No?
I was just going to say it's so hard to comment on this because I know where it's going. I know where it's going for such a long time, and instead of being like, oh god, where is this going? I'm like, oh, I can't wait till they get to this bit. You know, and so it's kind of the same thing in a different way because there's sometimes when it's going really slow, it's like, oh god, there's so many really cool things coming up. You stop spending so much time on this thing that's not that cool. But
same.
But then at least I know there's cool things coming up that it's, you know, to keep you going.
Like there's a scene in the last episode where I really just even the anticipation of that scene coming, I was like, yeah, this is going to be so good. This is going to be awesome. And then it was just like, they didn't even really show it.
Yeah.
It was just...
I know what you're talking... Are you talking about with Bobby?
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I was frustrated. I thought that must have been a budget thing.
Maybe.
But I was not very...
But it was going to be such a good action scene. And I was like, come on.
I know. I was sitting there and Matt was like, what? And I'm like, this is not what happened in the book.
And it just it failed to like, I don't feel like Bobby's gotten enough scenes where she got to look as awesome as she is.
Yeah, I know.
But also, okay, so here's a criticism. Okay, let's talk characters because I think that will be really interesting.
That's boring.
So
characters are boring.
No, this is where okay, good.
Okay, maybe we'll start the first season, maybe we'll start the second season. Okay, but while we're on Bobby or Gunny, because honestly, maybe it's because you guys have read the books that you knew her name.
Gunny's just short for Gunnery Sergeant.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. And that's
okay.
They didn't tell us in the subtitles because we always have to have subtitles.
See, I just made the assumption that everyone knew that.
Yeah.
No, I knew that it was short for her being like a gun, like she was an amazing gun. I knew that, but it was a reference to what she was great at. But I thought it was her greatness kind of thing.
No, it's actually got to do with more along the lines of her superiors talking down to her. You're just a gunny. You're not in charge. You're not. It's them making her feel less in control of her situation.
Right. Okay. So
it's also something that real life gunnery sergeants get called as a nickname all the time.
Yeah,
it's a common thing to call a gunnery sergeant.
So here's okay. that crew, because we opened the first season with the Mars crew.
Yep.
Her Kiwi accent drove me just to distraction because nobody else has one. And I was like, this makes no sense in the world building. Like,
well, it's explained in the books. Like, there's like that. Well, it's not really explained why, but it explains that like her background.
Why?
But then, but then they kind of talk about like with Alex having a Mariner Valley drawl, so his like Texas sounding accent is actually
but that makes kind of sense to me. I mean, okay, so here's the thing, and yes, it's drawing on what we know here, but like Game of Thrones does it really well. It uses a variety of English accents, which are very much located in where like the northern accents of the world of Westeros is the same as what it would be there. You know, the Mediterranean accents are what you would have over in Bravos and that whatnot. And for me, it was like, okay, like you've got the Belters, and they've all got that kind of
the Creole.
The Creole.
Yeah, that's a language that they developed because okay. So here's my theory. It's not.
But it made complete, like, it's fine, but like maybe you're getting it from the books, but it was really when it came to Bobby's accent compared to everybody else in her unit and anybody else we've met from Mars, it just like, and also because I'm a Kiwi and we're just like going, oh, all I can hear is the vowels being butchered the entire time.
It makes perfect sense to me because okay, you've got the Belters. And they're in this situation where they're not in a stable living situation. So anyone that comes from Earth goes to the Belt. All the different people from all over the world are going to mix. And that's why Belter Creole has like heaps of different languages in it. Like you can hear German in it, you can hear Spanish in it, you can hear all these different languages that have basically just been thrown together to make Belter Creole. Whereas Mars has these domes of like people. So if you've come to colonize Mars from a particular, so like a bunch of you and your friends and family from New Zealand or from Texas or from any other place, you go to Mars, you're going to have
explained in the TV show. That might be explained in the books, but it was not explained in the TV show.
It's not explained in the books. This is just my thinking about okay, how geography would like Mars is very, you can't really easily just mix around. You're in these contained places, whereas the Belt is space stations where everyone's all sort of mixed together.
And then
it would make sense that you move that forward 100 years, that Mars would stay like they. I know they don't talk about the New Zealand accent, but they talk about the Mariner Valley. Like, so if you live in the Mariner Valley of Mars, probably a lot of people moved there from Texas, and then probably the people who weren't from Texas over time may have picked up that Texas accent because the majority of people living there were from that part of the world. And you could have the same thing in other little pockets of places where people were living on Mars. The same way we have on Earth.
Yeah.
You know, like we've got, and then if you had, you know, a United Nations that was really United Nations army that had people from all different places, there'd be all different accents because they would have got their accent from that little pocket where they were living, but then gotten put into this army with people from all over the place, and then there's all different accents.
See, and I like the fact that, like, because I'm the same with Kirsten. That's I got that idea from, like, I had that same idea in my head when I was listening to her accent and everything. And for me, I thought that was a really nice piece of world building without having to go and explain it, because constantly explaining things takes up time and it often isn't a very good storytelling way of doing things. So just having it there and applying like what we would know about those circumstances.
It would have been less strange if they had one other person, you know, not necessarily in her unit, but now that she was like in when she's meeting her superiors, like one other person that she met her in an Aussie accent, for instance. You know,
I thought there was somebody with
There's been quite a few different accents.
Yeah, I mean, it just. I mean, and I'm saying because I'm a Kiwi,
I think it's because it's the Kiwi is familiar to you. You're looking for another familiar accent, whereas Kiwi's not that familiar to me. So for me, just having lots of different accents was enough to get that impression.
Yeah, that could be.
I just also want it to be known that I'm incredibly sad that one of my favorite characters, from Dirk Gently, was in her platoon and got killed, and I was very sad because I liked him a lot. So I was like, okay, I was like, no, I like him? Why has he disappeared? So that was anyway.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I got the Earth thing. I got all the different accents and the Earthen accents and stuff. Yeah, it makes sense now.
I do think that James S.A. Corey, they kind of do kind of try really hard to be diverse.
They do.
You know, like they deliberately put lots and lots of different kinds of people in their books, different genders, different backgrounds, different sexualities, different religions. They do. I think part of it is they're really just trying to go, okay, we haven't got this kind of person in our book yet. Let's put somebody, you know, and I'm not, you know, I don't know. And I think they do kind of do it in a way that makes sense for the world that they've built. But I have read a lot of books in that world, and it sort of makes, maybe that is why it makes more sense to me.
And maybe it'll make more sense as it moves forward, because, you know, like the more we kind of learned about Holden's background, that was really interesting. Now let's talk about Holden. We just sit there the whole time going, he just looks so young. He looks about 12.
Well, he is young. He's such a baby. He really is.
Yeah.
In the books he is as well. He's like so
awesome.
He's so innocent in a way, like, and so he's very naive, I think. Yeah. And I think he's
justice
very
warrior. I can save the world, and things will. And people will do the right thing, and
they kind of actually make fun of that as well in the books. They're like, oh, Holden, you know. Especially Avasarala, she really does kind of like go, bloody Holden, you know, and
cool.
She hangs shit off him for that all the time. Yeah, which is one of the things I love about her.
Yeah, oh my god, I love Avasarala so much. Sorry.
She doesn't swear as much in the show as she does in the books.
No, but
I
she swears enough that I'm okay. She's got enough grit.
She swore more in season 2 than she did in season 1. Oh, she says the C word a lot in the book and the F word a lot.
I don't know if they dropped the C word in the show yet.
No.
I think
in fact, the exact line that she says where she said the C word, they had her say that line, but without that word.
And you've got to remember too that the books let us spend more time with her and in her head, which we don't get in the shows.
No. So in the show, you don't always know her motivations. You don't always know, okay, is she a good guy or a bad guy in some ways, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, you always can see what she's thinking and where she's coming from and stuff. And
yeah.
All right, keep going, Sarah. Who's your next character?
Cool.
Sorry.
What's his name?
Can I just say Holden's a babe though?
Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a bit young.
I love him from the Covenant.
I
think it was the Covenant.
He's always a...
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah, like no, you need to. It's not. Maybe don't look at his face then.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, whoa,
my.
You get some good pics hidden under there, man.
Well, no, it's not always hidden. The abs he's got, and I'm sure you see his naked butt at least twice.
Yeah, it's a good butt.
Yeah, when
not that I'm his covered butt.
When he's in antique.
What's the difference between a naked butt and a covered butt? Let's be honest.
Clothes.
Oh.
Clothes.
Can I just say, having just the idea of them doing it in, like, you know, in anti-gravity, I just can't.
Yeah, Matt had a rant about that.
Yeah, I had a rant about that.
I just can't see it happening, eh? Like you're going to, if you're going to thrust, you're going to like thrust your way that way. You know, you're going to like bang into shit.
It's also a blood pressure thing. I don't know if there's been research into erections in space.
That's why they have that injection.
I wonder whether, like, I don't know, Mel, whether you can remember them actually doing that in the book, or whether they were always under thrust. Whether they were always, you know, flying and therefore having, you know, gravity from flying.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were.
I don't remember them specifically describing a sex scene when there's actually no gravity.
I can't remember it in detail enough to comment on that, in all honesty. So
there was definitely gravity in the TV shows, because
Oh yeah, I know, definitely in the TV show, but I'm wondering whether. No, I was talking about the very first time. Yeah,
sorry.
I think it's the very first episode or the.
Yeah,
somewhere
not with Naomi, with someone else. It was with some other chick.
No, with that other girl that died when the camp blew up.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
That was like the first episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was when Matt was like,
pretty much
that
where I'm up to. I'm like episode 3 of the first season.
Okay, I'm so far forward. I was in the
we're going to
season.
spoil so much for you, Jasmine.
Yeah, sorry, Jasmine.
Oh, that's okay. I don't care. I know. It's all good. I think I've missed like 40 minutes of it anyway, and I don't know who you're talking about, so it's going over my head. I don't hold it. That is it.
Speaking of heads, who lost his head?
The guy that got
the guy who no one cares about.
I can't remember his name.
Scene. I didn't see it coming, and it I was like, oh, it'll be fun. And I was like, no, you did it. Oh, good for you. You actually killed him off. I was very, very impressed.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about? What am I missing?
Oh, I'd forgotten about it too, Mel, until we rewatched season 1 before we watched season 2, and I was like, oh yeah, that guy. He was one of the guys that survived the camp with them and got killed early on.
There's a firefight.
And there was
I must admit,
I think debris or something that depressurized, and then they put a tray up against the hole to seal the hole.
Yeah.
See, I
was on that Mars ship.
I think when I watched season 1, because I'd read the book and I knew what was going to happen with the camp, I didn't care much about the people there.
Yeah, you knew. Okay, well, I know it's going to be Holden, Alex, Amos, and.
Yeah, I spent most of the time
like anyone else who was in those 4, I don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah,
I know they're dead.
Yeah. So you knew that, we didn't, and that was the doctor who went.
That's right.
And I was like, I kept. Nat was like, "What's his name again?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
It's like, well, that kind of gives something away.
Yes,
I don't even know who he is. No reason.
Dr. No Face, No Head. Sorry.
I like Alex.
Alex is great.
Yeah.
I like the draw. I like the Texan. What do you call it? The Mariner Basin draw. I like that.
Yeah.
Drawl.
Yeah. And I also, you know what I really like is because he doesn't look like someone, which, that sounds horrible, but
I keep forgetting because I listened to the audiobook and I keep picturing him as like blonde hair and looking like, a typical Texan. Yeah. And then I've got to remember, like, he's Indian, but he's not.
I mean, because when I first saw him, I was like, actually did a double take because I thought it was Taika Waititi when I saw him. The guy.
Right.
I actually did a double take. I thought, oh my God, you look like Taika with a beard.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, he's Maori or Pacific Islander.
Yeah, no, but his last name's Kamal.
Yeah, which is awesome. And then I was like, and then I looked him up to go, who is this guy? And then, and I use this awesome Texan accent. And but he's got great lines and, I really, he's more my type. I know you're all like the Holden, but.
No, I'm with you. I love Alex as well.
I like Alex.
But I think, for me, I think Alex really started to shine in the second part of season 2. So I'm sort of like, oh my God, you've got so much to look forward to.
Oh, good. Because I've been really enjoying his some of the Mars stuff, and his interactions with Amos are getting really good too. So
I love Amos. I just love him. He's probably.
He's so strange, but and he's just trying to uncover himself now, and because that's where I'm up to, and his way of apologizing was really funny, and
I just love him. I read an article. It was like it wasn't an article. It was a link to a comment from a Reddit user who is autistic and said, I'm pretty sure Amos is autistic. And after reading that comment and we watched it. We watched season 2 after I read that comment, and I was like, he's on the spectrum somewhere. And I mean, he's got a lot of history stuff too, which is to do with his personality as well. But I don't think it's just that. I think, I just love him so much.
Would be the kind of thing that would mean he wasn't diagnosed and stuff. So
it's like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're just saying, that's a character who's completely on the spectrum, who's like she on Asperger's, because irony and sarcasm, nothing, right? And I think it's nice to
Yeah.
see, like, I think it sounds like it's really good that the authors are creating a universe where neurologically typicalness is not, you know, like, because there is stuff like this that happen, you know, like not everyone's neurologically typical, and people go through post-traumatic stress, and you know.
I
think they actually tell you. Sorry, I can hear myself now. I think they actually tell you in the show what his background is, which you don't find out in the book until way later. I could be wrong, but the thing about there was a comment Naomi was talking about, the thing about the prostitutes and
he grew up. His mum was a prostitute, so he grew up in a prostitute house.
I'm sure they had Naomi telling this story to Holden in this season of the show. Maybe you haven't got to that yet, Sarah.
But I think what I like though is them showing how he manages to help deal with his situation. Like he uses Naomi as a guide for himself, so that he doesn't, because he knows that he doesn't necessarily always get situations. And I just like little things like that they do.
I just love how protective he is of children. Like how he's like, you don't mess with kids near Amos, because if you do, well,
he'll fuck you up.
He might beat you to death with a can of chicken.
It says here that he's a sociopath or a psychopath.
Oh, you may not have got to that yet. Sorry.
No, you're not to that yet, Sarah. You've got a new character to meet.
He's just had a run-in with a kid who told him to stop being mean to his mum, and that's given him a crisis, and he's gone off and talked to the...
Did I just spoil?
What's that?
So.
Is that a spoiler?
What was yours? What did you say?
He's a psychopath. That's what I'm reading. I'm like, on Google.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, online discussion about is he a psychopath or is he not. I don't think he is.
Well,
I think
you can be a psychopath and not act on it.
I think
I
think the difference is
I think
he wants to be good, and he doesn't always know what is the right thing to do, but he wants to do the right thing, and I think that's what makes him not a psychopath. Because a psychopath doesn't want to do the right thing.
Yeah. I think he grew up in an environment, like, so he has some mental deficiency of some kind, possibly autism or Asperger's or something.
Yeah, he can't read emotion as effectively as others.
Yeah, which makes that more likely. So Asperger's in particular. But I think the thing is he also grew up in a morally ambiguous environment.
Yeah.
So that factor, plus the fact that he doesn't read people very well, means that he doesn't always behave exactly correctly. But he has a moral value. In particular, here we're talking about the fact that he has a moral value about protecting children. I also think
he's also very protective of his crew. He's very
yes. Naomi in particular, because Naomi is what helps him when he doesn't know what to do.
And that's the thing. Like he will look to Holden,
and they have a special relationship, don't they?
Yeah. He looks to Naomi, but getting further on in the books, he looks to Holden too, as to help him with his moral compass, and he does what he thinks is right based on what they would do. And there's, especially in the books, you get into his head a lot. Yes. Like there's a whole lot where you're just getting into his head, which I love. I love reading when the books are from his
great, are they? Good psycho.
Oh, I love them.
I highly recommend them. Yeah, but you've got to push through the first one. The first one can be a bit difficult.
Yeah, I found that too.
But the second one, you'll be like, whoa.
I love the audiobooks.
Yeah, get me to the wow feeling.
Well, you know what? You could probably, after watching season 1, you could probably just skip to the second book if you wanted to.
Yeah, you're probably not missing. Like I keep forgetting the first book a lot, really.
So they're that detailed. I think that's when I came in. You guys were saying that it's staying true to the book.
It's actually doing a lot of like they embellish some areas and they really contract in on other things from the books. But I think that they do enough that you're perfectly fine to move on with the story without having to have all those details. They hit the major points is the main thing. They establish the major relationships. They hit the major plot points that are really important. And the world building is pretty bang on. So I think
I was really enjoying it, and unfortunately we couldn't get any more seasons. I think we were watching it and we we're just waiting for the seasons to come out, but we didn't even finish it. And so, yeah.
But the problem with the first book is you're literally only in Holden and Miller's head, and it alternates between them. And Miller is fucking annoying and boring.
Oh yeah, I know. But I mean, I don't like detective stories, and I don't like noir. And that's really what Miller's story was, and I think that's part of my problem with it.
Yeah, see, I like detective stories and I like noir, and I totally got that, and that's why I liked Miller.
Oh God, I hated him so goddamn much.
But I liked him in the show. I never read the book.
I like him in the show, so I'm not sure what the books are like.
Yeah. Well, the difference is in the books you spend a lot of time in his head, and especially I think in the beginning before the story really picks up, oh God, he's really not a nice person.
Yeah. What did you say, Matt?
Oh, I was just going to say I quite like the character on TV. Not having read the book version, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, I quite liked him too.
Oh, she's gone.
And I liked
She'll be back.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, I really liked him because I like detective stories. I like trying to piece the pieces together.
Generally, I do. I don't really have a problem with that, but I do not like detective noir because generally that is just so depressing as a detective story for me. So, and in the book, that's really what it felt like.
Yeah. We read that. Do you remember we read that Vaginal Fantasy detective noir piece?
Give me a bit more details.
Someone was killing prostitutes, but prostitution was legal in this particular world scenario. Did anyone else read this?
That does sound vaguely familiar. I just can't place it though.
Yeah. I think it was part of a series. See, it stuck with me because I really enjoyed that book. I never ended up picking up any of the other books, but it was sure
that was Vaginal Fantasy and not Sword and Laser?
Could have been Sword and Laser. I'm not sure. I enjoyed it.
Oh, no. I remember it was the Nora Roberts one. It's set in the future.
Yeah.
Something Until Death. Yeah, you're right. That was Vaginal Fantasy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt, what did you say?
I was going to say that's all of her books, or unless I'm getting her confused with Kathy.
No, you're right. They're all Something in Death. That's the whole series.
So that series, they are Something in Death. But Nora Roberts writes a lot of books. They're not just those ones. She's prolific.
Yeah, because I read something else that she did, and I got really depressed with the character, and I was like, oh, so I get what you mean. Anyway. But I've read like Kinky Friedman, who's noir and detective and hilarious, and I've read all the Janet. I read an awful lot of Janet Ivanovich.
Janet Ivanovich, I wouldn't consider noir.
No, she's not noir. She's she's chick dick lit. So but I like chick dick lit because it's fluffy and fun, and I dig it.
That's not one to say very fast over and over, is it?
No.
I'm not going to attempt that one.
See, I like that series. I just got tired. I like the Stephanie Plum book.
It got tiring. It was tiring.
I got tiring of the fucking. It didn't go anywhere, especially the triad relationship thing. It was just
Yeah. No. I think that's the idea was, you just kind of could dip in and out of it and that kind of thing. Anyway, back to the characters.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also thought in the second season, and because I think the other thing is I quite like Thomas Jane. I think he's quite a good actor, and actually.
So you're predisposed then.
I was predisposed, but he also got really good lines.
So
I think I did like the show Miller better than the book Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Julie thing was weird.
Wait, well,
he was in love with her. That weirded me out in the book too. I'm like, how can you be so in love with someone who not only have you never met, but really he'd never even it's not like he'd interacted with her in any way. Like it's not like he'd talked to her
See, I refuse to call it love. He was infatuated.
No, he was obsessed with her.
He wasn't in love. He was obsessed in a stalker-like fashion. And
it was really stalkery.
They don't really know them, but he's like tracing her and falling in love with or infatuated with what he thinks she is, not what she is. Yes. And that's kind of why when he was on
Eros... It stemmed from the loss of the other girl that he was, you know what I mean? Like because he couldn't save her, he wants to save this other girl so that feeds his obsession.
Yeah, I think
that drives him.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, that's just how I say it.
No, I think that's a fair call. But that's why, like, when he got onto, and I don't know if this is the same in the book, so when he got onto Eros and found Julie, I just found that like, I was a bit, like, thinking about production values. I'm like, why have they put her in such a compromising, like,
oh no, that's how they found her in the book. No, that's how they found her in the book.
That way in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. I just really didn't appreciate that because.
What, because she was naked, or what part of it in particular?
No, it wasn't the naked part. It was that she was in this very fetish-sized position. It wasn't the nakedness. That doesn't bother me. Like that.
What about the position?
Yeah, I don't remember it.
I mean, and don't forget, it's quite fresh for me. So she was like reclined back with her, like, it was kind of like and maybe this was part of it, but like, you know how the American TV shows think he gives birth, which I'm just laughing because, you know, I'm like, show me someone who actually managed to do that, and then that was all the like tendrils and stuff, so it was very Cthulhu. You know,
I don't remember it clearly enough in the book of exactly how it was described. I
the
remember
main thing,
she was hooked up to everything.
The main thing I remember.
She was hooked up to everything.
Oh, you're talking about when he went back on the ship, not when they found her in the motel. Sorry.
No, that didn't bother me. Like, no, it's fine. She was in the shower. She was she died. No. Yeah. I'm talking about when he was on Eros and he was like,
yeah, no, you don't see that. You don't see that bit, really. You don't, like, he doesn't just find her like that. That was weird.
Yeah, I can't remember how that scene was described in the book.
He never talked to her. He didn't talk to her.
See, I have no clue. Like, I should check my Goodreads to tell you how long ago it was that I read it. Probably when you did, Mel. Maybe you've got
same time, because we did it for Sword and Laser, and we did a hangout together.
You must have a better memory than me, because I'm like, nah.
I'm pretty sure he didn't talk to her. Or it was in a vague, you're part of the whole thing kind of way.
Which is what?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It wasn't her.
No.
It was the protomolecule.
Right. Because I kind of like the two of them being entwined, and maybe it's because we've read a lot of AI stuff, right? But that's how I kind of saw her. I saw her like, who was our ship consciousness, who got separated from her ship?
Yeah. That's the one we're talking about next. Matt hasn't read yet. Oh no, Matt has read. Who hasn't read it yet?
No, not Lovelace. Not Lovelace. No.
Ancillary
one.
Justice.
The ancillary one.
Which Matt hasn't read.
Matt!
Oh, Matt, you've got
I know. It's such a Matt
book.
It's on
my wish list. It's on my wish list.
So I wasn't allowed to have a Bailey, so I couldn't get it for you, could I?
What was I going to say?
I was just going to say, like, the way, like, I totally understood that, and again, maybe it's because I understand how networks work, and that's kind of what I thought it was going to be. Like, Julie was part of it, and it was part of Julie, but not in a, here is the body that I have left behind, kind of, like, I just imagined him kind of getting in and being able to kind of, like,
I feel like it was...
it was
the whole point of that scene was to meet the needs of the audience, that they really felt like they couldn't understand that Julie was part of the whole thing and possibly even running it.
Which I could totally get. Maybe I'm more advanced than the average person. I don't think I am.
But Sarah, the difference is that you and I and the rest of us here, we read these books. We do pay attention to these types of tropes. Other people who watch this stuff that they're trying to get involved with it, they don't. So they don't have to meet that a little bit.
I more saw it as like
in this position. Like, why couldn't she have been more of in a position of empowerment? Like, because if she's the captain or the main consciousness of this,
she's not. She's not. That's the thing. She's possessed. She's like, okay, she's more like someone who has had, you know, like in these shows and books and stuff where someone's possessed and they're like a voice in the head of the possessed body, and their consciousness is trapped in there. And then every now and then when the entity that's taken over them, you know, is weakened, they get to jump in and be themselves for a couple of seconds, and then the other entity. Do you know this trope that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's what she is. She's not in control. She's under its control. And she can get, and I can't say other stuff. she's
even that's
she can every now and then she can do a little bit, you know, like push it that way instead of this way, but like she's not the main control.
Yeah. Okay.
In no way, not even.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
Because I can't. Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna have no, it's all good. I have to go soon, but I wanted to talk about, you know how Fred Johnson set the Mormon ship after Eros and then it missed?
Yeah.
Because Eros moved.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just go and get it?
Yeah, I don't know, because that bit is really going to matter in the later books. So I'm like, dude, what is going on here?
It's like you dodged a bullet. Go get the ship and bring it back for the Mormons, and you know, like
no.
I'm like, no, the ship hasn't gone anywhere. It's still going. You know, like I don't.
Yeah, no, but it's like I'm gonna go get the ship, but fuck the Mormons.
I know, and I'm like, you had nets to catch a missile.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand.
Well, they can't do the next. They can't do the next book without that ship. Basically, it's not possible.
Okay.
So they pronounce it somehow.
Yeah,
because they never dealt with it. Really. I was like going, you know, the Mormons are going to be pissed. I'm like, yeah, cool. And then it dodged it, and I was like, well, okay. Well, the good thing is at least the Mormons aren't going to be, you know, like you can give the.
They basically took a plot point from the third book and moved it up a schedule, and it's sort of like, okay, well, how now is that going to fit with the plot point that's needed later then? So
right,
yeah.
That's as vague as I can basically say it.
No, it's all good. I'm glad other people saw this though.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. Not just because of the plot point, but because the whole thing, I'm like, seriously? I mean, you put it on its course, but I'm pretty sure you didn't lose remote control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you know which course it was on.
Yeah.
As well.
You know, and space is vast and big. It's not going to bump into anything. You know,
no.
Go get it.
Yes.
It just, I was like, what's your problem? Go get it.
The thing I don't get is like why they're all like, well, we can't give it back to the Mormons now.
Yeah.
Like, nothing wrong with it. You could give it back to the Mormons. You just don't want to.
They paid for it. I mean, for fuck's sake. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just because that's the person in me who goes, they've paid for it. Like,
Is there a Mormon thing about having stuff stolen that you can't have back or something? Because
God, I don't know enough about the Mormons to say.
No, exactly.
I don't know, but I was just like, you know, that's not. I don't know. I just thought it was not cool.
Yeah, no.
I was like, I understand why you're doing it to save the world, but now you don't need it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, shit, do the Mormons really have this much money?
Oh, I bet you they do. I wouldn't be surprised.
Damn it.
They have to pay. I can't remember because my friend Denise, her best friend in high school was Mormon.
I think it's 20%.
They have to donate a huge amount of their wages to the church, and a lot of them donate more than what they actually have to.
Yeah,
like it's a huge amount.
Oh God,
it's kind of like Scientology without the aliens bit.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes them more or less sane.
It's interesting. So the interesting thing is, they donate about 20%, if not more. But what you get out of it, because a lot of people run businesses, you get kind of preferential, I guess, customer access and stuff like this. So
people will choose to come
with other Mormons. Is that
and then also just contracts out, so the church can help you find good contracts. So there is. It's almost like because I remember it might have even been Hank Green was talking about like tithings and stuff like that. Or maybe it was John Green explaining that it's weird that in a weird way it does come back around. Like it's been shown that people who tithe really do get more back from their interactions with whatever. Anyway, by the by.
I think it depends what you do. If you run a business, yes. If you just do a job for a company, not so much.
But you might be offered a job in a company like with more prospects within the circles. On the other thing I was going to say was I guess the churches, right? They are really amazing, beautiful structures, and they're not cheap to build because they're not just one big room. There are a lot of smaller rooms,
and there's certain rooms you can't go into if you're not
Yeah,
like
and you've got to go through the ceremony with the seals and all that kind of stuff. But they did show there was one in Utah, I think, had until they dedicate it, they let people go through it, and it looked really beautiful and amazing. So yeah, they've got some money. The other thing is they don't drink. They don't do anything like that. So there's an awful lot of money that if I didn't drink, I'm sure I'd have more money.
Oh yeah.
So, all that expendable income that they can put towards everything, like building a gigantic spaceship to go somewhere.
I think the thing is too is that like the tithing thing might look really good on the top end of people, but when you look at the base people who are within the community, whether that's so beneficial is another thing.
I can only tell you what I know.
Oh no, I'm just sort of saying it benefits like the top blend families, and they'll do really well and stuff. But if you, it really will depend a bit because they don't necessarily pay their employees fantastically. So even if you get hired by one of them,
I mean, I can't comment. I am neither Mormon nor
I know because my dad worked. It's not Mormons out there that way, but it's a similar sort of system for the people that are out in Tamworth. My dad used to work for one of their companies, and he was fine. He was happy enough there and everything, but they weren't paying a fantastic wage. He just needed a job.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as what's the name of the church that's out Western Sydney who own everything, including they own Gloria Jean's.
Oh, yeah, that's why.
Not Hillsong, is it? Oh,
Hillsong, yeah. Hillsong had the same thing. They come around with FPOS machines during their church services.
Seriously? Oh, my God.
Seriously, yeah.
So people can't go, oh, sorry, I don't have any cash on me.
Oh, no, you can tap and go. So, yeah. I know, yeah. Anyway, no,
I thought you wanted to talk about Miller's hair.
Oh, well, someone said that article was really good and it really helped me. I don't know who posted that. That was
that was me.
It was a good article.
About how his hair is a metaphor and because it was a belter haircut, which I never knew until I'd seen an article online, and I was like, and then it clicked because I was kept watching. This was halfway through watching for me, and then I was like, oh, yeah, all the belters do have that haircut, except they never noticed that before.
Except for our friend, I don't even remember his name. The young guy who's gun ho and seems to survive everything, and he was on Eros with what's his name?
Was he a character just for the show? That one?
Yeah, I don't remember him from the books.
Yeah, but he didn't he just.
I know who you mean.
A beautiful head of hair, but yeah, you're right. Like Naomi has that haircut, and all the others have that haircut. So when I read that, I was like, oh, that's so interesting.
And when he shaved his head after he killed what's his face,
but I was still like, I'm not sure a man with a receding hairline such as yours should really be showcasing it to this point.
Yeah.
That was my issue.
I remember when I first started watching the show, that was the thing that put me off the most. I was like, what the fuck is with Miller's hair? Because it's not a thing in the book.
It was like a comb over.
And I think it does actually make sense to me in that the show's like, okay, we haven't got the budget to make the belters look like belters. Like the belters, like Naomi is meant to be like head and shoulders taller than Holden. Like way taller and way skinnier. Like they're meant to be really skinny boned.
They showed a
really big
people,
heads in comparison to their body. Yeah. But they haven't got the budget to put that amount of CG onto a person who's going to be on the screen all the time.
Yeah.
Like even a movie would struggle with doing that well. So they're gone, okay, we need some other kind of visual thing to do to make them big. You can tell straight away that they're a belter. I don't know how successful it was because I didn't realize it was a thing until I read about it. And then I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
But he's going to be in the new Predator. That's cool.
Who is?
Miller.
Oh, okay.
Mel's going to come and sing with me, aren't you, Mel?
What am I going to say? Sorry, I missed this.
No, you're not, Mel. You're not, Mel.
It's not Mel. It's not Mel.
A horror movie? Not going. No, sorry.
No, it's not.
No, just that cute little animals.
I haven't seen the original.
It opened up like that.
What is it called? Sorry, what is it called? What am I seeing?
Predator. Saying Thomas.
Oh my God! No. God, I'm not
Miller's in the new Predator movie. So
no.
I like the Punisher. I like the Punisher. I don't care what anyone says. I love that movie.
Didn't even pay me to see that, Jasmine.
It's good. It just
No,
sounds
it's
like
not.
it sounds like a little kitten.
Shut up.
I don't know what that sounded like.
It sounded like the electrics in your tree shorting out.
A bit more PG what I was going to say.
Yeah, and Naomi's interesting. Right now, she's super interesting for me because she's just faked sending the proton molecule off to the sun. She's lying to Holden.
Oh, yes.
Holden, our naive baby boy who believes everybody tells him the truth.
Because he tells the truth, whether it's the right thing to do or not. He tells the truth, and that's a thing.
It's his failing.
Yeah, it's so funny. Anyway, so we're like, that's going to be interesting. And is anyone else? Oh, there's the guy who is also in the political UN, who's like been up to no good.
Oh, the other undersecretary,
vice president or whatever his name is.
Yeah. What's his name again?
It's just like, how do I know he's like? I knew he was bad. We'll give him grease back hair. And yeah, I think those are the major things. I just wanted to make sure that I could talk about the fact that is it called the Nauvoo? That was the ship.
Yeah,
right?
the Nauvoo's
yeah, that's the Mormon ship.
I was like, go get it. It's like a rogue shopping trolley. I thought it was going to bang into the car. It didn't. Oh, let's go after it.
Do they say what the ship is for in the books, like what it's built for?
It's a generation ship. It's supposed to take the Mormons. They want to find another solar system.
They're supposed to be spreading the word of God further beyond the solar system.
And because they don't have faster than light travel, they have no way of getting to another solar system besides actually taking several generations.
A long time to get there.
To do it. So they've got like this big like middle part where they can grow crops and stuff and produce oxygen and
it was very much like the one in Inception.
No,
not Inception, Interstellar, like the same kind of idea.
Yeah.
I was only asking because Mormons have that, like, heaven for them is a literal another world out in the galaxy. So
I think it was more they wanted to get away from Earth and find another planet for just the Mormons to live.
Right. Yeah, so they're not trying to get to heaven the old-fashioned way.
Oh no, I think it's very much in keeping with their what's the
doctrine?
Yeah, pilgrimages and
pilgrimages. And how they through America, like they went west.
What is it they do? They go on a. It's a thing. It's not pilgrimage isn't the right word. There's another word for it. I know what you're thinking of.
Yeah,
they go on a mission. Is it a mission?
They go on a mission. Yeah, that's it. They go on a mission. But they also, like, when you think about how the Mormon faith started and then moved west, and they were on that mission, that pilgrimage to find new lands, to set up their new home. Then it kind of just sat completely with that. Is that the Nauvoo kind of made sense in that kind of like we are going forth to be and
agree.
It's 2.5. I've just googled it on the wiki, which you shouldn't do if you haven't read the books. It's 2.5 kilometers long and 0.5 kilometer wide. 4 Donager class battleships would fit in her belly and not touch the walls. So it's pretty huge.
Yeah, it's big.
It's huge, but it's not as big as I thought it would be.
It was intended to be populated by thousands of Mormons and travel beyond the solar system to Tau Ceti.
Enterprise D is only supposed to be like 1 kilometer long or something.
4K long and what, 0.5 K wide?
2K is long and 0.5 kilometer wide. Did
you say the Enterprise D, Mel?
Enterprise D, I'm pretty sure is supposed to be only like 1 kilometer long.
689 meters.
How many people?
Oh, there you go.
It still might be a bit.
689 meters. Matt just pulls that figure out of his head.
Oh, I was hoping he'd looked it up.
No.
Oh no, he knows these things.
Matt.
Because I'm just thinking about, you think about how big a suburb is.
I'll have one of those.
But there's probably more people in a suburb than there would be
in the ship. Do you think so? Because I was thinking.
Okay, you know what the difference is? And this is a huge difference. Yeah. You have 3 dimensions, right?
Yeah,
because they're in space.
But a huge
it's not like flat.
In the middle.
They can
Yeah, but it's also hollow in the middle so that they can grow crops and stuff. So yeah, okay, yeah.
It's still that's still at least double.
Yeah,
probably more.
Yeah,
by just going all the way around.
And not only that, like it is a space station, so you wouldn't have a house the same. You wouldn't have a apartment on there.
How big were the silos?
Is this Eros you're talking about?
Oh, I don't remember.
Because that's the other thing that
silos.
I was thinking about.
They had like 50 floors or something.
Yeah, but like that, we probably know how many K deep they were and how wide they were, because it was a similar kind of thing.
It says 10 levels of environmental engineering, crew quarters, temples, schools, wastewater treatment, machine shops and forges, and at the centre, the vast interior. So they are mostly around the outside.
Yeah. And in the centre of the silo, they had the staircase.
Yeah.
Well, around the outside for the gravity. Because that would be...
Because it spins. The drum spins.
Yeah, to create gravity.
And it's the same thing with... the station, what was the station? I'm getting confused now. Where Miller was.
The one where Fred Johnson is.
Fred Johnson station?
No, Fred Johnson's on Tycho. There's a different station as the other one I can't think of. Where Miller was at the beginning.
God, I can't remember. Where the English guy who has the really bad Creole accent. I really like him.
Series?
Series, yeah, that's it.
And it spins as well, and they're talking about how the poorer people live in the middle because that's where the gravity is fucked. Whereas on the outside, the gravity is better. Whereas in the middle, it's where it's like, gravity's kind of going to shit because it's spin gravity.
Which I find really funny because in the show, I really felt like they'd sort of designed it the opposite to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of little details that the show just can't do because...
I know. Yeah. I just thought that was an interesting thing. Like, I hadn't really even thought about it until you mentioned that, but...
I just think there's so many lovely little bits that in the world building in the books that make total sense to me. And, you can't always cover them all in the show, but I'm like, I just love the world. But the world building in the books is one of my favourite things about them.
I think the thing is, though, is that in a book you've got the space for world building. In a show, it takes a lot of time to put detail into the world building.
Yeah.
And but to be fair, I noticed the lack of detail because I'd be like, this doesn't feel.
But I think the thing is that what's important is that the detail's there. It's just that it's not explicitly shown. And so over time, there will be opportunity for them to show that detail. It's just that...
Yeah. I tell you what it felt like, which I think is absolutely fine because this is how cartoonists work. It felt like broad brushstrokes.
Yeah.
Of what was required. And that's absolutely fine when, get it. Like, that was the right way to go like on the budget and everything. But when you have the ability to add in the small things, and I actually think that's one of the reasons I just going back to something because I rewatched Fantastic Beasts, and yes, it's a movie with a huge budget, but there's the little things that just I felt like I was back, just small things that you see nobody ever sees. And I actually just listened to an episode of was it 99? No, was it 99% Invisible? Yes, it was. And they talked to a graphic design, like a graphics designer, about logos and fonts and making, pieces, like graphical pieces for films. And she would make maps and books. And there was they were talking about a notebook that one of the characters had, and the actor said, "This doesn't have anything in here. I think it would be full because the character would be like, you're right." And they, filled it all in. And like, it's only
Thanks
on
for making my job
second. Yeah, but at the same time, they said it's the right core. They're all trying to build the world, build the character, give depth and a foundation. But like I totally get, like, they don't have millions of dollars, but
I think that the bonus to this show,
season, it improved majorly. Like, I definitely felt like in the second season I was seeing more of that. Like,
I think the thing is that it wasn't even just that it was. I don't think it's so much that it was missing in the first season. I can see like set design not being as fantastic at that, but the world building was there in the first season. It's just that over time into the second season we've had more time to explore it, because the thing is that unlike with a lot of other sci-fi shows, which are purely just a TV show, so they just work with a very basic premise without a lot of richness behind their world, and they have to slot it in later over the many seasons that happen. This world has started with that depth, and it's just that the show doesn't have the time, along with the pace of the story, to stop and show you that depth. And so it's over the period of time that we've had that you start to notice more of the details that the world is there. And I feel like in this one, at least for me, it's richer because of that. Because unlike where you're sort of like, oh, you guys just said that because you wanted to put something in to match this thing that you put in this other season, and it feels kind of weird, but whatever. Okay. This one feels like it's all there in place, but maybe that's because I've read the book. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess in my head, and this is probably unfair, but I do compare it to Serenity, which had one season. That's all it got. Not Serenity. Sorry. What?
It's very Firefly-like. Yeah. I having read so much of the books, I think it's quite Firefly-like. But
and but I mean,
without Joss Whedon's dialogue.
And I think again, Joss Whedon referenced the West. Like they had a lot of reference. That's the other thing. I have to congratulate the set designers, because they have to just come up with something which is in a book that there's no they just have to work it out. Whereas to create the Serenity, they have a whole lot of stuff to reference, right? But what I loved about the Serenity ship, and it's something about the Rocinante that I feel is starting to get explored, like exactly what Mel said. We're starting to see new areas of it, which I really like. And I like seeing the eating area, but in the Serenity, that was so, I felt like I was in it looks like a trucker, it feels like that whole cargo area,
the Rocinante is way bigger than the Serenity as well, which probably has something to do with it.
I don't feel that at all. That's interesting. I don't even feel that. It's
an ex-Martian warship too, which
I know, but
they have to it's very it's going to take them time to personalize it. Whereas when you see Firefly, they've been living in that ship for a long time, and they've been personalizing it for a long time. Whereas the point in the show, the Rosie is very very still like a lot of the Martian warship, but I see it as a character in the show in the same way that Serenity is a character in Firefly.
No, I love seeing,
and that's having from the book.
It has the same aesthetic as the rest of the set.
And Alex making lasagna.
Yeah, but it feels like exactly like you said. It feels like what a warship canteen would feel like if a whole lot of people just moved in and just were turned into this. And the area where they got it on, with the suits and everything, that felt very real. So it was. There's been some attention. I think the major areas, to be honest, have been. I just sound so critical. Was series where we in the first season. That was the areas that I felt were tough.
Which I think comes back to what I was saying about the fact that we're just not going to spend much time there from now on, and so it's just not important.
Makes a lot of sense.
Whereas they should be able to build some good sets for the Rosie, because they know that the majority of the books
is going to be in the Rosie.
It's going to be on that ship. Except for books.
Yeah, and I thought they did a really nice job with the Mars stuff, where they were doing training. In the first episode was opened on Mars with the training exercises, and I thought that they did a really I love that. That looks really good.
All those scenes as teasers for season 2 confused me so much, because they're not in the book, and I was just like, what are these scenes? I don't understand.
Which ones, Mel? Sorry.
The scenes from the early parts of season 1 with Bobby, where she's doing training on Mars, they showed them as teasers before the season came out, and I was just like, I don't understand how these scenes fit in. Where are they from?
I think they were wanting to background her character a little bit more than what.
And I get that now, but at the time I thought they were trying to show what was going on Ganymede, and I was like, this isn't Ganymede. I don't understand.
Ganymede.
I thought that was just season 2, at the beginning of season 2.
It was, but then they were showing it as teaser stuff before season 2 came out. And I watched it.
I didn't see that.
Because it had no context for when it was from the story. I didn't know it was Mars.
Right.
All I knew was Bobby in action. And I was like, well, this scene should be the Ganymede scene.
Right.
But it's not Ganymede. I don't understand.
Interesting.
It's fine now. I get it now. It's just backstory, and it was good backstory, so I was cool with it. It was just at the time.
Yeah, it's weird teasers. Yeah, totally. Matt,
which is one of the reasons why I'm not watching any Star Wars pre-stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
I haven't watched any yet.
Don't do it,
No,
Darcy.
I'm not even. Yeah,
No, I'm going
to.
They're going to get my money. They don't need to market to me. They're getting my money.
Yes, exactly. It's happening. I loved Force Awakens. I'm so there, dude.
Yeah, I'm coming.
I'm even more excited.
Sold my soul, Star Wars.
Yeah, you don't need to send me an invitation. I'm coming.
Yeah.
What did you say, Matt?
Oh, I said I'm even more excited having watched the trailer.
No. I know I'm already.
I will probably cave because my brother will send me the trailer and be like, "Have you seen it yet?"
Oh God!
And I'll see it and I'll be like, "I'm gonna click it."
I did it the last Force Awakens. I watched the 30-second teaser, and I was like, "I'm in. Don't show me anything else." And I love the fact that I hadn't seen anything. I so enjoyed. Like, I know it's just a new hope for the 21st century.
I was just going to say, and you got a remake.
It was a new hope.
I still enjoyed it. I love Rey. I love Finn. I love who's the guy who was in who played the guy who made
Poe Dameron.
Poe, yeah.
Oscar Isaac.
Think of him as an ex machina.
Space boyfriend. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
He's another sexy guy.
Oh,
he is very sexy.
Both the two guys from Ex Machina are in Force Awakens.
They are too. Yeah. One of them's Brendan Gleeson's son.
I heard there could be like a love story for them.
Space boyfriend.
There's a lot of people shipping that.
Yeah, I'm so shipping that.
I am shipping that.
If you would like a really good fanfic for that, I've got one for you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh yeah, send them my way, baby.
Yeah.
I will.
I totally ship Poe and Finn. I ship that.
Do you want the fan fiction too, Sarah?
No, I'm okay. I have my own in my head. It's all good.
So we call off.
Yeah.
Would you,
Matt? Jennifer, will you share it, please?
Matt, would you like the fan fiction?
No.
He barely gets time to read his normal fiction, let alone fan
fiction. The only reason is I don't read fanfic for any kind of franchisey kind of thing. I only ever I don't even read.
So you read all the
unless
books,
it's actual.
He has trouble getting the actual books read.
I swear I read 50 Shades of Grey before it came out, eh?
Yeah, you probably did. It was called Twilight.
I probably did. I read a lot of Twilight. Yes, I read a lot of Twilight fanfic. Oh, I'm not helping.
Yeah, it started as a Twilight fanfic. So.
I was young and obsessed.
It's okay. You can be proud of the fact that you like Twilight.
We've all read Twilight.
I don't know.
I loved it when it came out, and then I just read a lot more stuff after that, and went, okay. Well, I think even at the time I recognised that it was like eating a bag of chips. I was like, I know this is really bad, but I'm doing it anyway, and I can't seem to stop.
You know, it's okay to.
I could change my opinion and go Team Jacob now.
Sarah,
honestly. Sorry, Sarah.
Bye, everybody. You can.
You're going. Sorry, Sarah. See you later.
Thanks. It was good to see you.
Thanks for
it's good to see you.
Oh, geez. Okay. Go faster.
Well, she's gone.
She was a foot out the door.
I think she was trying to say bye for ages, and we wouldn't let her. So, and when I say we, I mean me, because I can't stop myself from talking, especially when I've had 2 glasses of sangria.
I just had a drumstick and I ate it quite sexually on camera, so
I wasn't.
Go back and watch that.
I wasn't really watching. Sorry.
I was like, do you know how you get it and you like lick the inside? I was like looking at the camera. I was like, oh, maybe
I was playing Candy Crush.
I'm chung boxing my drumstick. Get in there. You got to reach it like a giraffe. You got to like clean. Yeah.
Wait, is this?
Don't ring it, Evan. Sorry, babe.
Is this drunk jazz yet or not? Just regular. Okay, good. Just checking.
Drunk jazz. When you see me worse than this.
Yes.
She's not to have extra glasses yet. That's a good sign.
I was about to. Wait. But I can't talk. I'm going to get another one.
See, Jasmine, ever since that time where you egged me on, I'm now on a rule of no more than 2 glasses for a hangout.
Especially a live one.
I would have a lot more if I didn't have to go to work tomorrow.
School. Oh, no, that's right. That's right. Karina finishes
School
early.
hasn't finished, no, because only for people in private school.
Yes. And still even that, I'm like, that's super early.
It is really early. We actually have to do a whole extra week next year because it just has crept forward, and it's like, now it's like, okay, next year, we're going to have one 11-week term and only 4 10-week and 3 10-week terms because they were like, nah, it's too long. Like, we want to be finishing a week closer to Christmas than what we have been.
Okay. Because I just felt that kind of crazy levels. Yeah. Like, Karina's like, oh, yeah, this is normal. I'm like, no, this is not normal. This is really early.
It's been getting a couple of days earlier for the last few years, and it's gotten to the point where it's so early now. And the problem is that you have to go back so early. Like, that's the other thing. Like, the 22nd of January or something, we go back. And like half the other states are still, it's February by the time they go back. And we have to go back a week before the kids go back.
Well, that's the other thing. She was like, oh, I go back on the 17th December. And I'm like, no, I've got schools I'm doing PD at for around at that time. So, no, I think you guys are just finishing really early.
No, it's the same number of weeks as the other dates. It's just that teachers go back way early. Hang on, I'll have a look. Oh, I don't even remember off the top of my head. But I think private schools are different too, as far as that goes as well.
Yeah. Well, it's a private school I'm doing the PD at, so.
So we go back the 16th of January.
Guys, do we have anything else we want to talk about with the show? Because otherwise I'll end the broadcast.
Only things I want to talk about I can't, so.
What, you can't?
No, because everything is all spoilery from the book, like all the cool things. Like, there's one, I think Mel will probably know what I'm talking about. There's one really big thing that happens, and I don't even know which book it is, but I'm like, it's huge.
I'm only halfway through the 3rd book, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like the whole subject of the 3rd book, really.
Oh, okay. Well, Jasmine's not here, and Matt's going to take his headphones out, right, Matt?
I'll go and make my second drink.
There you go.
Right. So, Matt, can you hear us still? You can probably hear me through the door. I should talk quiet. I'm talking about the ring.
The ring, yeah, the ring that comes out of Venus.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, stop listening, Matt.
Yeah, and I was trying to be fairly vague anyway. Like.
Yeah, so the ring that comes out of Venus and everything, but I don't know what it does. Like, at this stage, they're all just heading for it for me in the 3rd book.
All right, you don't know what that does. Okay.
I suspect that it's going to be some sort of transportation thing. I could be very, very wrong.
I'm not even. Do you want a hint or not? Because I'm happy to just play dumb.
How bad would it be to know? Like, is it fantastic and no, you don't want it spoiled?
Well, if you're already thinking that, you're probably not going to be that shocked. So
okay, so it is that then, basically. So so that's what it is, right? Cool.
But there's some cool stuff that happens to do with it, which I like. I think it
what you're telling me here is I need to finish the 3rd book for you so you can talk about it.
Yeah. And the slow zone. They have the slow zone, and yeah, that's good.
I'm basically at the point where, what's his name? Mal's daughter, I can't remember her name, has faked, what's his face? Holden doing another Holden, basically, where he's broadcasting the truth, but it's not the truth. So that's the bit I'm at, and that's why I've sort of struggled to get past that stage and go back to it, because that happened right as Trump came in, and it was just so politically messy and awful, and I was just like, oh, I can't deal with this right now.
I remember listening to an interview with the guys about that, and they were like, people were like, oh, this is all about Trump, and they were like, we wrote that a long time before Trump, like.
And I know that, like,
I even thought that Trump could possibly have won. We wrote this, you know.
I know that, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form blaming them for like, I'm not sort of like, oh yeah, you guys have put all of these details in there in any shape or form. It's just more along the lines of it was bothering me, and I was getting mentally not stable because of it, and so I haven't been able to go back to it yet. But I've been looking at it recently, going, okay, I think this might have to be a January thing. It's been a year off. It's time to go back in January. So
you could try the audiobook if you're struggling with the book, because I
thought about that, but I own all of them.
Yeah.
No, I went and bought them all for me.
All the stuff you're talking about, I pretty much don't remember, which means that it didn't really hold my, like, I don't remember, you know, if I don't remember it, then it probably didn't hold my attention that much. No, it's sort of, I'm talking, but I'm not being slow.
It's much more vague now.
Yeah, I don't, like, most of the stuff you're talking about, I can't even remember happening, which means that it was the bit in the audiobook where I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and that happens, and that's one of the good things about audiobooks is you get the main plot points, but you don't have to actually pay attention to all the details. And that's what I like about
it. And the parts of that book that I remember, I don't think have happened yet. So hopefully that means that there's the stuff that's happened that I remember, because it was in, you know, hopefully that means it's good. Because I remember it, and the stuff that you're saying is not good is the stuff I haven't remembered. Because
anyway,
you know, it hasn't stuck in my head.
So I basically just need to get my head back around it, but I can't justify buying the audiobooks when I
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm glad that I got them as audio though.
Yeah, I wish I had done now. Oh, what am I catching you up on, Jasmine? Oh, you left beforehand. Oh, you catch right, number 3. No, I'm on the waters now.
Boo. No, I was on the waters the other day.
I'm very tempted to have another glass of sangria, but I have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah. See, I don't have
a lot of work to do tomorrow.
I don't have work tomorrow, but I do have to do a crochet thing.
Really? Yes, I couldn't imagine doing it hungover.
Yeah. And this is the last Christmas present, so I really want it out of the way. So
yeah, get it done. I know what you mean. I've been doing some arty little things.
I saw
you did for the teachers. They were really cool. I'm like, why can't I get teacher presents like that?
Oh, I'm glad that's like, because it's so tough to think of an idea, and I don't want to get a candle or a bottle of wine or vodka.
Well,
Karina
got a pallet of mangoes, and I was like, yeah, I hate
mangoes. It's a great idea. The bomb. I love mangoes. Oh, mangoes.
She also got some cake too, which was amazing.
Didn't she get something like Superman or something that she said they stalked my Facebook to get this?
She got an artwork with Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, and I swear that artist is the same one who did that fantastic little short comic where Batman and Superman get together. I was like,
I've only seen the scene where they're kissing. I've only seen that panel, but I know exactly what you mean, and I think you're right. I think it is the same artist. But I was like, she said like that was her banner on her Facebook, and they were like, she was like, obviously they've stalked my Facebook profile, and even though they wouldn't have been able to actually get into her profile because she's got it private. But when you can see people's banner and people's profile picture, even if like those things are always public.
Yes.
So because she had that as her banner, they would have been able to see it. And she's like, oh, they probably stalked me to get this. Like, otherwise it's a pretty big coincidence.
Yeah.
That's a great gift.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, is this what happens when you work in a private school? I'm lucky to get a box of home brand chocolates, and I'm grateful for them.
And you're in a relatively good one too.
Oh no, I'm talking about calling apart. I won't get anything because I'm the librarian, and like whoever thinks to get their kid to bring a present to the librarian.
Not many, no.
Ours will.
I know. I never would have thought of it.
For the staff, for the administration staff, because they're the faces of the school. You see all the time. But yeah, that's unfortunate.
There's other perks to the job.
But
I like librarian.
As a teacher, I was always sort of on the side of I actually don't feel like I want presents, because as much as it's really sweet and thank you very much, I'd much prefer just a card with a message, because unless the present's something I actually want, I end up with like all these chocolates when I'm trying to diet and I don't want them.
Oh, see, I'm always like, yeah, chocolates. These are going to last me.
Then you can re-gift it. Give them out.
Yes,
I know, and I'm in the fridge, and I'm going to be eating them for ages, and I love it.
Jasmine, yes, I can regift, but will I regift or will I eat them in cave?
Yeah.
Or store for later. Yeah. I'm like a bear. I like to store things for later.
Hey, I've got schools, when I go and do PD in schools, I've got schools who have paid me to come and do the PD and they'll still give me a bottle of wine afterwards. And I'm like, dudes, you paid me to come.
But it's nice. It's like, you know.
I know it's nice. They always freaking give me red wine. I can't even give that shit away.
Oh, really? Well,
I'll send it up here.
pack it in a suitcase next time you come up here and give it.
Do you drink red?
No, that's the problem. I don't drink red. I don't drink red, and nobody else I know will ever take it. So
look, it's an empty glass with no red wine in it.
Oh.
Send it my way. Send it to WA. I'll drink it. Actually, yeah.
The problem. That's the other problem. It's not nice. It's not nice enough red wine to actually send away either. Like it's
cost you more in postage than it would to just buy it in the bottle shop. Yeah.
It's a $5 Shiraz.
Yeah. And I mean, it's still like if it was a white,
made that year.
If it was a white, I probably would have drunk it even at that level, just because hey, free wine, whatever. But as a red, I won't touch the stuff. But that means that it's cheap enough that I can't give it away, and it's certainly not worth posting.
Make sangria. You might like it.
Yeah, you mask the horrible.
They have sugar in it and oranges and stuff, so it's not just. Like it's a lot sweeter.
If somebody ever makes sangria, I'll give it a go. But I've got to tell you, I had an uncle for years. My uncle who died a couple of years ago. He was a massive wine person. He tried for years to get me in to drink reds in all sorts of different ways and couldn't get me there. It
does still have that tanniny taste, even the sangria does.
See, I can't even stand dry whites. Like I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm super picky about wine.
Yeah, whereas I'm like, I can't drink it.
I like rosés.
I do too.
The right rosé I can deal with.
Lately,
if it's not too sweet.
If I'm going to drink wine, it's going to be a rosé.
See, Matt,
I love rosé.
Yeah, it's
nice to be sweet.
Yeah, whereas I'm like, it needs to be not too sweet, and that's the tricky thing with rosés because they don't always they don't always say it on the label, and you're like, I don't want to buy this if it's going to taste like Moscato.
Yeah. But I'm the reverse. Like I want them to say whether it's sweet and stuff, because sometimes they'll say, "Oh, it's fruity," and you're like, "Yeah, it's fruity, but it's so freaking dry."
Yeah. I just go for how many standard drinks, right? It's going to be 7 standard drinks. Okay, what it is? I want my 7 standard drinks, and I'm sweet. That's fine. I'll have it. But yeah, not too sweet. The older I get, I think it's age.
Yeah.
I just want. Dry, but not too dry where I'm going to sip and I'm like, well, fuck, I'm going to have to force myself to drink this first one to like the second one. But, you know, that's bad. That's bad drinking. That's bad drinking behaviours. I don't condone that.
Jasmine, I've done that. I do that all the time. So often I'll go places and people, like someone will be like, oh, what do you want to drink? I'll be like, oh, have you got a white? And they're like, yes. And they give it to you and it's so dry. But I'm like, okay, just get through the first one, Mel. The second one will be better.
Numb that.
Whereas I find it's the other way around with the sweet. Like it gets worse because it gets more and more cloying the more sweet stuff you drink. Like I can probably drink one glass of sweet stuff, but I can't do a second one.
I agree with you.
It's like if someone gave you a glass of like a creaming soda and then have another glass of creaming soda and it's like
it got sweeter.
Yeah, no.
Like cordial.
I agree with you. I agree with you. When you have those desserts wines, if it's nice, not nicely balanced, if it's just super sweet, I'm with you on that. It can be too much. I agree entirely. And I like sweet, so
yeah. Actually, dessert wine's one of the sweet things that I can have because it comes in a glass that's this big, and you have this little tiny glass of this really, really like syrupy sweet wine, and then that's all you have.
See, that's not how I drink dessert wine. I drink dessert wine like this.
Yeah, I'm talking about like a botrytis, like a, not like a Moscato. I'm talking about like where it's.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Sticky.
I've got one in the fridge that's like that. I've actually had it for quite a while because it's one of those ones that's got the kind of lid that you can't put back on. And it's not going to be something I can drink fast, and I need someone else to drink it.
You need to share it with, that's understandable.
So
it's like there's a reason why when you go to a restaurant and you order a glass of dessert wine with your dessert that it comes in this tiny little glass.
Yeah,
because
that's too much sugar for me. Like you're having a sweet dessert and then you're having a sweet drink, and I'm like, I just want something.
You want a coffee? Mum has coffee with it.
My mum has started getting a blend,
or
which
scotch.
Mum started getting a blend, which is a Moscato with a Sauvignon Blanc. Now, I normally will not touch a Sauvignon Blanc, but the Moscato blended with it is, and it's got bubbles, and it's just right.
Just right.
Because I'm like, we had a Sauvignon Blanc the other night, and it was like
my favorite grape.
Really grassy.
Sauvignon Blanc.
So good.
Sauvignon Blanc is one of those ones that I have to force my way through the first glass, Matt.
Yeah.
Love it. It's definitely my favourite white.
I mean, if you buy the $5 bottle,
that's pretty normal for red wine drinkers. I find, like, if you can drink a red wine, Sauvignon Blanc will be their favourite white. Whereas
I never used to be a red wine drinker.
No,
like
we're the other way around. We started with whites.
Yeah, but I find that's pretty normal too. Like a lot of people start with whites and then they get to red. But once you're into the red, it's hard to go back to the whites.
No, I'm
still not a huge red drinker. Yeah, I'm still not a huge red drinker though. Like I only really like Pinot or Merlot. I'm not a huge Shiraz or Cab Sav fan. I like the lighter reds. So I'm not a huge red. Like I generally will pick. I'll either pick white. 9 times out of 10, I'll pick white over red, unless the red is a Pinot, in which case I'll pick the red. And Pinot is always harder to find and way expensive.
Yeah, so it's always expensive.
Whereas my favourite white grape is a Verdelho.
I do like a Verdelho actually.
I don't even know what that is.
As long as it's dry.
We went through a big phase of drinking Verdelho when we tried this Verdelho when we were in Stanthorpe, and then we're like, oh my god, Verdelho is the best.
Yeah,
that was Stanthorpe. I don't think we very often found another Verdelho that was as good as that one.
What about Passion Pub? Like that's fancy stuff. that's champagne, right?
Oh, Jasmine, I love it.
It's got bubbles in it.
It's got bubbles in it. Yeah.
It's got bubbles, right?
That makes it champagne, does it?
Totally.
I mean, you could get a bottle of wine and visit with your soda stream.
Yeah. That one that I was telling you about that my mum gets, I swear that's what they've done. They've just taken an ordinary white wine and then just gone, okay, 90% you know what? Soda stream this.
If it costs less than $20, then that's what they've done, because the traditional method ones, and it usually will say method traditionnel or method champenois.
Yeah.
A proper champagne method where the bubbles develop naturally. And they have to turn it and do all this shit. It's not very many not very many sparkling wines actually do that, and the ones that do will say it on the bottle because it's way more expensive.
Selling point.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that
you can taste the difference. I can taste the difference. Like it's not one of these things that it's more expensive.
The bubbles are softer.
There's tiny bubbles compared to bigger bubbles, and it's like it's almost like it's creamier, if that makes any sense. But I can definitely, if you gave me 2 glasses, I could tell which one was which. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you anything else about, you know how people say, oh, it's got notes of blah blah blah, and stuff. I'm not good with that, but I can tell the difference between a fizzed wine and a traditional method wine.
I believe that purely because I can't deal with sparkling wine and I can taste that carbonation that's in it. But the whole wine thing that they do with the notes and all of that shit has been proven to be utter bullshit.
It's funny. It must be a weird psychological thing though, because when I go to a tasting in a winery and they say it's got notes of this and this and this, and once they tell me, I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally taste that.
Yeah.
But if I had to say it before they gave me the hint, I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
It's totally psychological. It's all psychological. It's all been totally proven. Like they've done studies on it, and like the pricing and the expensiveness and all of that sort of stuff is
that is awesome.
Yeah. There obviously a super cheap wine is, you know, it's going to be what it is and all of that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, once you get into the mid range to the top range, it's like, yeah, there's not really any difference.
Yeah, come on.
Most of the difference has to do with the notes stuff, though. All of that stuff that they go on about is the thing that most people just really couldn't tell you anything about.
Yeah. I think the other thing is too, the wines that win a lot of prizes are the really way different ones. And because when you do a winery tour and you drink a whole shitload of wine, it's the one that tastes way different to all the others that stands out to because you've drunk so much wine on that day.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many times that I've bought a bottle at a tasting because I've been like, yeah, this one's just amazing. It's so different and blah, blah, blah. And not liked it as much when I've got home. And a lot of the time I think it's because I've just been so drowned in all these others that I've picked the one that seems different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That popped out the most.
So, and often it's the one that's got the stronger oak, or it's got...
Just have a little mini tasting at home. And then crack it.
Open all the bottles and then go, I've opened all the bottles
like,
now, so I have to drink them.
Amazing. That's been called...
Did I mention that we're still live?
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Bye, people.